Murphy, Schiller & Wilkes is formed with a simple purpose in mind, serving as the one-stop shop for the legal needs of developers, lenders, and others in the commercial real estate industry. Based in Newark, the firm's attorneys represent clients in the most complex real estate transactions and land development proceedings, as well as property taxation, environmental and real estate litigation matters, and in the acquisition, sale, and leasing of all real estate asset types throughout the country. Their attorneys have broad private and public sector experience coming from top national law firms and high-level governmental positions. Through the development of individualized client-focused strategies, their team works tirelessly to create a blueprint for success and advance their clients' interests in every matter. To learn more, head to murphyllp.com or give them a call at 973-877-6984.
Driving on this road feels like forever.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We are here in Hoboken, New Jersey today with Mike Turner. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
It's great to have you. So thank you for, first off, inviting me into your home, because we don't do a lot of home episodes, and I know that always can make people a little bit, not uncomfortable, because I feel like I'm a nice guy at least. So
you're a nice guy. I was a little nervous when you came to the door, but overall, you were good. And, I made sure the place was cleaned up, too. My wife's very good that way.
Yeah.
She would have killed me.
I mean, it's a great spot, great view, like looking over the river over here in the city. I love it. So we're having you on, and I was like looking through, and I mentioned we had Darren Page on, who was like a former guest of ours, who was on reality shows, and obviously you are from Survivor season 42.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
42.
Runner-up,
second place.
Which we were talking about a little bit off mic before was, kind of like a kick in the ass, but like it's okay, because it's. I was telling you a story about my friend Robin and her mom, and I had mentioned, I was recording with somebody from Survivor in Hoboken, and they knew instantly who you were and that they were huge fans of yours.
It's a crazy world. Listen, I'm a guy from Hoboken, humble beginnings. I'm a fireman, a blue-collar worker, and I'm a Survivor fan. So I understand. So I get to go on this crazy show called Survivor, and, it gives me a lot of notoriety. And I'm humbled by it all. So when I hear that, so-and-so is a fan, I'm not even sure what, it's hard for me to handle that because I'm just a regular guy, and I just got very lucky, and it's a great life, man.
Yeah, for sure. So you're Jersey through and through.
Jersey.
Right? So did you
Jersey.
Grow up here in Hoboken?
Born and raised in Hoboken.
Okay.
Born and raised in the Hoboken projects.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, what was that experience like?
It's rough. During the 60s and 70s, growing up in the projects was a little rough. You definitely learn how to take a beating and sometimes give one, but most of the time, back then you were getting a beating, whether it be from your parents or the kids in the neighborhood. But again, that makes you who you are, so I have no regrets. It was a great time. I had a lot of fun, too. I had a lot of free time to go do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
So it was always an adventure in Hoboken in the 60s and 70s.
Right. And is it crazy just to, kind of see the trajectory of Hoboken from when you were growing up to what it is now? Because it must be night and day.
It's a different world, and that's the funny thing is because when you grew up in Hoboken in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s, you don't take it seriously that you're literally a train ride away from New York City and what Hoboken could have become, because we only knew what it was, and which was, quite frankly, it wasn't a great town. People were afraid to come here.
Yeah.
And so when it started to turn around, people say, you should buy property. Buy property? You out of your mind? You'll never get it.
Yeah.
Look at who. It shows I don't know everything, that's for sure. But Hoboken's, it's an amazing town, and to be fair about it, a lot of BNRs are maybe not happy the way it is now, but I love it all. I love the way it was when growing up. I'll never forget those memories, but I also love it now. I love the restaurants. I love the people. It's different walks of life, and it's a great place to just hang out and live.
Yeah, that is one of the things, and I mention this all the time on the show, is just New Jersey as a whole, most densely populated state in the country, but also one of the most diverse populations in the country. And I would imagine, obviously Hoboken, Jersey City, Union City, all that kind of stuff, they're in and of themselves extremely diverse, a microcosm of what the whole state is.
Absolutely true. And Hoboken, people talk this person's that, this person's this person's that. Growing up in Hoboken, we really didn't know that because you know what we all were? We all were poor.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what you were. We just knew we were in it together, and we survived it. The beauty of Hoboken back in the day is that You smelt the neighborhoods. Whatever. If you went to a Puerto Rican neighborhood, you smelt the Spanish food. If you went to a black neighborhood, you smelt the black Italian, Irish. It doesn't matter. You smelt the neighborhoods, and that was the greatness of Hoboken.
Yeah.
You always knew where you were by the smell of the area.
Right. Yeah.
You did.
That's really cool. And so we mentioned a little bit kind of you growing up here, but what were some things that like young Mike Turner was interested in? Like what were you aspiring to be?
It's funny. Not until I was 17. I don't think I was aspiring to be anybody. I was just trying to get by and have fun.
Yeah,
and then,
I'm still trying to figure out what I'm aspiring to be. I'm 32.
When I was about 16 years old, I was a skinny kid, about 115 pounds, and I was playing on the high school football team, but I was small. I decided to start working out, and that kind of started giving me a foundation who I was going to become. Working out gave me confidence. It made me feel good about myself. It made me a better football player. It made me even do better in school because I had more confidence.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of high school, I really wasn't the best student in school. So college wasn't really a thing for me. Even though I tried it, it's not for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something in public service, and I really didn't want to be a police officer, even though I respected a lot. I really, really wanted to be a fireman because I felt it was almost an extension of me playing football and playing sports.
Sure.
Because when the bell goes off, it's like the last 2 minutes of the game, and things depend on you.
Yeah.
And so becoming a fireman did a lot of things that gave me great pride in what I did. It enabled me to help my community, and it made me feel good about myself as a person that I was going in the direction to be somewhat successful at that point.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, was just like the as a fireman, like getting into that like at an early age and having that connection with the community that you obviously have such strong feelings about, I think what would have been like a really cool way to kind of like take that next step in life for sure.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what it did. And that, I always say becoming a fireman kind of saved my life because it gave me a foundation of the things I believed in, the community that I loved, and quite frankly, it gave me security. So it enabled me to even do other things. So being a fireman is, without a doubt, probably the single most greatest thing that happened to me at that time to set up my life for my future.
Yeah. And then, through your career as a fireman, what was kind of like the levels that you were getting to?
Yeah, well,
I don't really know how to ask that question.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, getting on a fire department, obviously just, here's what I always remembered. I said, if I become a fireman, I'm successful, I'm a fireman. I don't care about being an officer or anything like that. And the competitive side of me said, once I became, I said, okay, it's great being a fireman now. Now I want to be a lieutenant. I want to be a captain.
Yeah.
And then eventually a battalion chief and be a chief of the department. And fortunately, I'm very anal, so when I do something, I either do it or I don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And when I came time to take the tests and prepare for them, I gave it everything I have, and I was very fortunate enough to do very well on all the testing. And I finished my career as a battalion chief. I retired after 27 years as a battalion chief in Hoboken. So, again, very fortunate. I knew every part of the job, and I also served through every part of the job, from being a firefighter to a lieutenant to a captain and then finally a chief officer.
Yeah. And so you said you retired, but you're still in your
yes.
You got your, not your uniform, but like your pullover on right now. But you said you just came back from the firehouse and all that kind of. So you're still involved.
Right, I'm involved. So I retired about 13 years ago.
Okay.
And I was busy raising my kids and getting them off to college, and then after this unbelievable experience with Survivor, I moved back to Hoboken, and I just happened to have a conversation with the chief of the department. And he says, "Hey, Mike, we have some part-time work at the fire department, which we can have you either be a dispatcher, we can have you go, helping us out with new different policies and stuff like that for you to look over." And it was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave in the first place. I love the job.
Yeah.
And to be back a part of the camaraderie, which is what fire departments do. It's such a camaraderie, such a brother that it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
And once you become part of it, you don't want to ever leave that family. Even though you truly never leave, when you retire, you kind of go off to college.
Right.
So I went off to college for 12 years, and now I'm back home, and I'm loving every minute of it. I love the people. I love the guys. I love the job itself.
Yeah.
And obviously the pride wearing the uniform has always meant something to me.
Right. And so I would imagine also, like, as you're kind of progressing through your career as a fireman, like climbing the ranks and the ladder, like all that kind of stuff, climbing the ladder. That's
Yes,
a nice little pun there. Yeah.
Nice,
thank you. I'm good at this most of the time. But did that in any way kind of like change is not the word that I'm trying to say, but like give you like a deeper appreciation for the community that you were kind of serving, or ways that you saw it and ways that you interacted with it? Did that ever come into play?
I think it all comes into play. I think just growing up where I grew up made me want to help out, because I am not where I am today without the help of a lot of certain people in my life.
Yeah.
And I always said that I always wanted to pay it forward, and I always want to give. So being where I came from and then becoming a fireman, what it did, it gave me more, and I don't want to use the word respect, it gave me more of an authoritative way that I can help people. They say, oh, crap, it's not just some guy I want to help. He's a fireman. It gives you that. And I've always said I want to help people, and obviously, being a fireman, we can only help people, and that's what people say. Yeah. But it also leads to other things, helping people that in need, which is very, very, very big to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you even, to the point you were talking off mic also, that you had moved out of Hoboken for a little bit, and now you're back. Like it's just crazy. Once you think you're out, they pull you back in.
Well, you know what they say: once you're from Hoboken, you're always from Hoboken, and no matter how long you leave for, you're coming back. And I was gone for a long time. I raised my children. Back when I moved out of Hoboken, it wasn't as great as it is now. I shouldn't say it was great. It was just a different. And you kind of think, I want to raise my kids in the suburbs and give them a different kind of life. And you don't want them. As a parent, you always want better for your children. Right. And the truth is, it may not have been better. It just was different. Yeah. And as a kid, I thought maybe it was better. And now that I did it, every part of life and everywhere you live has different positive and negatives. In a lot of ways, I wish I did raise them in Hoboken. But once they were grown up and I realized that they had the foundation where they can go off on their own, it enabled me to say, hey, I want to come back to where my roots are, which is Hoboken. And quite frankly, I'm still giddy about being back. It's 2.5 years. I'm still giddy about living back in Hoboken and seeing my old friends and walking to different stores and going to the bodega to get a cup of coffee. It's amazing. That's the best part of it, I think. Yeah, just like being able to walk someplace, walk into a place, they know you, you know them, you've been going there forever. The whole town of Hoboken is like Cheers.
Yeah, everybody knows your name. Yes. But awesome. So at one point, so you had mentioned that you were a Survivor fan. Did you start watching right away, when the show first came out? Or did it take you a little bit?
Well, we kind of heard about it. It was coming out these promos for this show, this crazy show. They're going to throw people on an island. And I remember saying, oh, that's crazy. I'm going to get for $1 million. Now, back then, listen, in 2001, 2002, $1 million was a lot of money. Yeah. Not as much anymore. They should raise the prize money. However, it was a lot of money. So most prize money ever given away on any kind of show. Yeah. So I remember the night that it premiered, we were in the firehouse and we all decided to watch it, and I was literally hooked from the moment I saw it. So just every aspect of it, because what I realized is when you go out there, it rips you down to the core of who you are. You're stripped of everything. I also believe that we go through life being very protective of ourselves, and we build these armors. And for me, maybe it was when I was working out. It gave me strength, it gave me an armor to protect me. Sure. Becoming a fireman, the same thing. When you go on Survivor, all those armors are ripped off, and you're just exposed to what you really are, all the raw nerve endings, and then you really find out who you are. And that's what I always loved about Survivor. The gameplay was great, the drama was great, but I always watched people become who they truly were on that show. Yeah. And I always said, I wonder who I really am. I need to find out. And I always said to myself, going on Survivor, I know I'd find out. Yeah. Never thinking that I'd actually be on the show. Yeah. It is really cool, especially coming from like a place like this, like Hoboken or Jersey in general. Yes. You have these, preconceived notions of the world and people coming from all different other parts of the country that are competing on the show. And I do think that's a really interesting way to kind of put it. Just your base person, who you are at your absolute core is kind of what shines through, and I think that's really and right now we're just an extension of all these armors that we put on. Yeah, and there they strip you down. Yeah, and it I think it also goes to show why that show has been so successful and the longest running probably game show. Yeah, it's an iconic show in the history of TV. Yeah, the longest running reality show. Yeah. in every way. Yeah, and still churning out two seasons a year and all that kind of stuff. So early on, at what point, because you were on season 42, yes, which was, I guess, 21 years about after the original Survivor came out, was there a point at any time in those 21 years, obviously you're working and doing that kind of stuff. Yes, I had a life. Right. When were you you know what, this has always been kind of something that's I've, batted around in the back of my head, but I'm really going to go for it. I'm going to give it a shot. So after watching it all these years and making every excuse why I couldn't put an application in, because maybe the truth is maybe I didn't want to find out the truth, because I was the I don't best. Want to know who I am. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was the best damn player ever sitting on my couch. Yeah. I didn't want to prove myself wrong. Yeah. So I remember it was Winners at War, and Jeff comes on after an episode, and if you want to be on Survivor, you can do. And I was sitting on my couch with my girlfriend at the time. I go, fuck this. I'm gonna fill out an application. So I go on my phone and I see how long the application. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is long. So I haphazardly fill it out, of course, putting my name and everything. And then at the end of it says, okay, now you need to upload a video. Now, I didn't realize that they meant you have to make a video and upload it. So I go on my camera roll looking for videos, and I don't know much about phones because I am old.
Yeah.
And I hit a button, and it uploads a video that I didn't pick. But I can't figure out how to get it off. So, of course, I'm thinking, like, for being from Jersey and being cynical, I'm like, I'm not going to get the fuck on anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
And I just sent it in. And I said, and they laughed about it. So you're not going to believe this stupid. I just sent in. We laughed. Me and my wife laughed about it. And crazy thing, about 3 months later, I get an email from the casting producer saying, hey, we saw your video.
Yeah.
We're kind of interested, but we need a little more information.
Right.
Like your name. You know?
Like your name, yeah.
And so I thought it was a scam. My wife looked up, and it was really the person was.
Yeah.
And I responded, and they said, we need another video. And I called my daughter up. By the way, I didn't look at the email for like 2 days because I thought it was a scam.
Yeah.
And they gave me 72 hours to get a video back. So I literally had 24 hours.
Oh, good.
And so we rushed. We put a video together, and the rest is history, man.
Yeah. When you realized, like, oh, this is actually real, like, were you just, like, what was that feeling like?
You know, I felt at that point I was playing with house money. It didn't matter.
Right.
I said, right now, I looked at every step of the process as a win. Okay, I got a call back to go on Survivor. That's bragging rights for me.
Right.
If I don't go any further than this, I'm good. And then every step of the way, I said the same. So there was never no pressure like, oh, please let me get on. Please let me get on. It was never like, it was like, dude,
I've been trying for 21 years.
I just talked to Jeff Probst. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so the whole step of the way. And then when it starts getting like 2 months into the run, when they started telling me to go for sending me for physicals and you know, and psychological testing, I'm like, holy shit, I might get on the show. It's crazy.
Is it like a big, like, is it like an audition almost? Like, do you have to, like, go and, like, interact with it? It just kind of...
Well, normally they would, but this was during COVID, so we couldn't go. They usually have you out for a week in L.A.
Yeah.
But I did everything through Zoom, and, you know, it was crazy. And, by the way, back then, like, again, I tell you, I'm not too tech savvy.
Yeah.
And they were doing everything with Zoom. I didn't even know what Zoom was.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm trying to figure out Zoom. I'm talking to Jeff and CBS producers. I can't even see them. And I'm thinking I'm talking to one person. And I'm talking to, like, 20. And I'm effing this and effing that. And they're like, okay, thanks a lot. And then I get a call from them. She goes, they loved you. I go, who? I didn't even see them. I didn't even know I was talking to them. So, you know, I guess, you know, it's just, some things are meant to be.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff Probst, because he's got to be like one of the most iconic hosts of a show ever, right?
I agree.
It's like from day one, he's been on that show. No, you know, like, I mean, other hosts have kind of like come and gone on different things, but like somebody like him, he's always there. He's so good at doing that show.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
He's amazing. And I'll say this, that I always wondered as a fan, is Jeff
Is he
Probst
legit?
who Jeff Probst really looks like?
Right.
And I need to say this clearly. He is exactly what you see. He's as enthusiastic and loves the game as much as anybody, as much as he's done from the first day. What you see him out there doing, he's doing. He loves the game, and he takes it very seriously. He has a lot of pride. It's like his baby.
Yeah.
And everything, as far as I'm concerned, is he says off the cuff. There's no prep. There's no, like, redos. There's nothing like that. He is what he does, and he's so good at it. He doesn't need redos.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Like, I mean, I've watched probably of the 44 now, right, season?
Yeah, 44.
Yeah.
Season 44. Very good season going on right now, too.
Oh, yeah. And you were doing something with, like you met up with some people recently to, like, watch an episode of it?
We did a watch episode in Pittsburgh.
That's pretty cool. Like, do you ever, like that's got to be, like, almost a surreal thing, too, because now you're, like, you know, like I mentioned, my friends that knew who you were, and now you're going to do, like, a watch party, and, like, oh, Mike T's going to be on there. And, oh, shit.
You know, you don't realize how popular, you know, because it's been on for so long, it kind of loses its luster in terms of people just talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
But there are so many Survivor fans, and I can't go anywhere without somebody stopping and say, oh my God, you're Mike from Survivor. And I go, like, holy crap, you know. And it used to be like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that are surprised that they're, like, I get calls from, I was just talking to my friend, like you just said, my so-and-so loved you on the show. And I go, we didn't even know he was a Survivor fan.
Yeah.
There's so many closet Survivor fans that it's amazing. There's really no place I can't go that somebody doesn't recognize who I am. And to be fair about that, it's not like I blend that well. The way I talk, Listen, this
Yes.
head is one of a kind. It's very recognizable. So I have that going for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So we're gonna get into kind of what like the season and your experience on it and all that kind of stuff. But we're gonna take our first break, or actually only break of this episode.
Okay.
So we can run some ads and everybody will. But we'll be right back. So this is Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Hoboken, New Jersey, with Mike Turner. We'll be right back. Bored of going to the same park? Want to try a new local adventure? Well, then check out NJspots.com. Your home for finding a new spot to discover right here in New Jersey. With dozens of maps to check out, local hiking spots, family-friendly places, and seasonal suggestions, NJ Spots is waiting for you to find somewhere new to explore. That's NJspots.com. The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes. All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Ham. We're here in Hoboken, New Jersey with Mike Turner of Survivor fame, but also Hoboken Fire Department fame.
Yes.
Hoboken just in general fame.
Yeah, I think
like.
the Hoboken fame I like better than anything.
Yeah, because that's who you are.
That's what hits the heart.
Okay, so we kind of talked about the lead-in of you just kind of haphazardly sending in an application to get on Survivor. You get on,
Yes.
right? So what was like the experience of actually like going? It was in Fiji, right?
Yes, Fiji.
Yeah, because they're doing them all in Fiji right now.
Yeah, they're all
right?
doing it. Yes.
Yeah.
I think up to about 9 seasons now in a row in Fiji.
Yeah. What I do think is also kind of cool, and just as another sidebar, but one of the things that I had learned from my friend who was a big Survivor fan, like they had talked about like all the places that Survivor had gone.
Yes.
And like how it kind of like changed the economic kind of like tourism type of thing where people wanted to kind of like go and check it out and like see what it's all about. So because it's got to be, you're going to all these just amazing places.
Right, and it draws interest from the, back then, and listen, it's a different world in terms of TV, but
Sure.
back then, 50 million people a week were watching Survivor. And so if they go to, a certain part of the world and they see these people experience these crazy things, they're like, we got to go there. So it did do that.
Yeah.
And the Fiji's an amazing place.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, my accommodations and my food sucked, but other than that, the place was beautiful.
Yeah. So but take me through kind of just like the first day, so like I would imagine, is it like you take the boat to the island, right? Is that kind of how they did it?
Yeah, so what happens is first we fly out to L.A.
Yeah.
That's because you can't. I'm not sure we could fly right to Fiji from the New York area.
Yeah.
So we fly to Fiji. You get sequestered in a hotel room, and then the next morning you get up and they put you on a private plane, and I think it's 18 hours we flew over, and then this was during COVID, so it was kind of scary. It was like it was out of a movie because when we land, the Fijian military were out there and they greet the plane, and then they escort you one by one into a little bus by yourself, and then the military follows you to a place where they sequestered us for 15 days. And not when I say us, we were totally alone. Like each person was alone for 15 days. Didn't see anybody. Obviously, you can't see anybody. And then when the game starts, they put you on a boat again, sequestered by yourself.
Yeah.
And send you to the island, and game begins.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So when you were going in, did you have like any sense of like, oh, I'm going to play this way? Or had you watched enough where you're just like, there's really no kind of like strategy that I can kind of...
I've watched enough that I knew a few things. I knew one thing, that an older gentleman was always probably, voted out earlier because that gentleman always turned out to be the father figure.
Yeah,
and wanted to run the young kids and tell them how he knew best.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wasn't going to do that, and which I didn't. I made sure when I first got on that I was going to downplay my age because I was 35 years older than anybody else.
Yeah, you were the oldest
by far.
contestant that season. Yeah.
Right, by far I was the oldest. And so I wanted to make, and just having the relationship that I do with my kids and hanging out with them and their friends gave me a good idea as to how to act and how to, play the game. And so I went out there and I made, I said, whenever they said, oh, Mike, you're going, and I never made it about me. The one thing that I know everybody loves talking the most about is themselves.
Yeah.
So when I went out there, I made sure never to talk about me. It was always about them. Whenever something I did, we did it, not I did it.
Right.
I never said, you should be doing this. Did your parents ever teach you this? And I made sure none of that happened. I wanted to be as obscure in terms of my age and my look
Yeah.
that I could be out there, so I can blend.
Right.
And I think I did that pretty successfully.
Yeah,
that was my main goal going out there. My game plan.
Yeah.
My other one was to have a basic foundation of how I was going to play the game. The first segment is the tribe section, where I'm just going to be a hard worker, lay low, not be so vocal in terms of what I think has to happen because I'm an older guy.
Sure.
And make sure they know that they at least needed me. My second part was the beginning of Emerge. I was going to lay low, not drive the train, be a passenger, but pay attention to who was driving it. And then for the last part of the game, which I did do, I was going to take over trying who we should vote out and play much more of a strategic game.
Yeah. And so how many days of shooting was there from like when you got there to that last
26
day?
days.
26
days in a row.
That's a long time.
It is a long time when, our tribe, we literally didn't have any food for the first 12 days.
Yeah.
Just water and maybe a half a coconut. There was really nothing to eat. There was nothing. There was the first season where they didn't give rice or beans or anything. So we literally had nothing to eat for the first 12 days, which at first you would think was a detriment for me because I was older. But I realized at day like 5 and day 6, the young kids were much more unhappy about not eating than I was. And before I went out there, I prepared for it, and I lowered my calorie intake right up to the day we left it down to like 400 calories a day.
Yeah.
So I was already ready not to eat, and I got rid of all the vices, caffeine, sugar.
Yeah.
I got rid of. So I went in there and I realized, hey, I hope they don't feed us for a long time because they're more miserable than me.
Days, yeah.
All I could do is hold out, not being more miserable.
Yeah. Well, going through this and recording for 26 days and, not eating for the first 12 days and all that kind of stuff, was there like ever a moment where you're just like, this fucking sucks? Like, I don't want to do this. Or was it just like you're so wrapped up in...
Every single day I said, this sucks and I don't want to do it. What the fuck am I doing? I'm going to be 60 years old. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But then, don't we say that through every tough time in our life?
That's hard, yeah.
And every tough time in our life. But here's one thing I know is anything worth having is hard to achieve, or else everybody will have it.
Right.
So I knew that I had to push through. And that's one of the things that I was very fortunate in my life. I had the ability to push through tough times no matter where I was.
Yeah.
And out there was one of them. I was just, it was terrible. But I just kept saying in the back of my head, 12 more days, I'm home. It don't matter after that. I
Right.
got the rest of my life to relax and eat what I want.
Yeah. And so like when you're going through this, and we were talking about before in the first segment about kind of like how the show like strips you down to like your core person.
Yes.
I think it would be interesting to kind of talk about how like the way that you grew up, where you grew up, because this is a Jersey show, and like the way that you interact with people and the different cultures that you've interacted with and different types of people. Like, I mean, I would imagine that kind of comes into play also, right?
Yeah, it does, because, I was very fortunate to be from a place like Hoboken, which is so diverse, and I was born and raised in the projects, and quite frankly, we were very poor. We didn't have a lot, and, I thought being rich was being a fireman's kid, or be a cop's kid. That was rich to me. I didn't even understand what being a lawyer or a doctor could possibly be, because in Hoboken, the rich kids to us, and they weren't rich. I thought they were rich back then. I said, my God, they have so much, but they were just middle-class people working hard, and just being so poor. And I knew that I didn't want that. I knew that I didn't want to, live in a place that I had to worry about growing up. I didn't want to live in a place where I had to worry about eating and or just not be able to eat.
Yeah.
So I always strive, and that's one of the reasons why I became a fireman. But it also gave me the respect for both sides, and then realizing those kids that I thought were rich, who I thought looked down on me, maybe they didn't. Maybe they just had it as hard as I did. But, there's different levels of poor.
Sure, yeah.
And that's how I looked at it. So I was very fortunate in Hoboken to be able to have that, to understand the different walks of life, and it absolutely helped me in life and helped me out there.
Yeah, and then also going through this and being a fan and watching the show and all that kind of stuff. Were there moments we mentioned like the daily moment of being like, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore? But there must have been moments too where you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm in a tribal council now, and he just snuffed somebody's torch out, or like, I can't believe I'm over here doing this.
Every day I was out there. There's a bucket list of things, if you're a Survivor fan, that you can experience.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I experienced everything. I found an immunity idol. I made the merge. I wasn't the first person voted out. I was part of a blind side. I made blind sides. I won the fire making challenge against the best physical player of the season. The only thing I didn't do was win that final, which I blame myself for. But I achieved, and every time I did do one of those, and Jeff asked at the final, after the final trip, during a reunion portion, he goes, Mike, you hit every iconic moment that Survivor has to offer.
Yeah.
And it made me sit back at that moment and reflect. And it's like, holy shit, I did. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Because while it's going on, you don't realize it's going on. And then you look back and say, I did all these things that are iconic in our Survivor history. And it humbles you. It makes you grateful. And it just makes you understand that if you just want to do anything or try and do anything, and you work hard enough, man, you just got to do it, man. Sometimes you just got to, fuck it, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. And then also, making it to the, the final two and all that, like, was there, like, any point during that season, and obviously it's hard to know because you talk about, like, blindsides and setting up people to be blindsided, and you don't know when you're going to be on that receiving end and all that kind of stuff. But was there ever a moment where you just felt like, like, I had a shot at, like, winning this? I mean, obviously when it gets whittled down to, like, a few people, anybody really kind of, I feel like, has a shot at that point. But was it maybe, like, a point where you're just like, I can do, like, this is something I got?
I never thought that way because I never wanted to get comfortable. You never
Right.
get Survivor comfortable because when you get comfortable, you let your guard down. I always thought at any moment I could be taken out by a blind side, or maybe I'm just being dumb, not realizing what's going on, until I beat Jonathan in Fire, which was the final four, and I went into the finale. I really felt good about my chances there because I did have a resume that dictated I could be the winner, and now it was in my hands.
Yeah.
That's the only time. Any other time, it was strictly thinking about game plan, just getting to the next day, taking baby steps until the journey was over, which was a long ride.
Yeah, and then also, going through this this season, and basically interacting with every single player almost throughout the entire season. Was like what the relationships that you have with people from the season. Do you still maintain those relationships?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I feel like that's also like a big thing too.
What you do learn, whether it's sometimes it could be an adversarial relationship while it's going on.
Yeah.
But even those kind of relationships bonds people to where they develop relationships, whether through good or bad. And I've had some good relationships during the season, and I've had some bad relationships during the season. Yeah. But the one thing that came through when the season was over is that we all went through this crazy journey together, and we gained the respect for each other. And no matter whatever happens, it bonds us forever.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I really, deep down, love everybody that was in my cast. And I went in there saying, I got enough friends. I don't need any friends. I don't care what I do to these people.
Yeah.
And now some of the best people in my life that are part of my life and part of my family are from my cast.
Yeah. And then also just kind of like from the season too, I think it's really interesting, like watching Survivor, how the contestants interact with like the crew and like the people actually filming what you guys are doing. Like, did that add to like the strategic nature of the stuff?
Well, there is no interacting.
Okay. Well, I know there's no interacting with the crew itself, but just like the way that they're filming stuff. Like if they film you finding that immunity idol, are people like, oh, why is that camera over there behind, like with Mike, and he's fishing something out behind a tree? Like that kind of thing?
Well, it's funny you say it because when I watch TV, I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, you don't notice the cameras.
Okay.
They're not on you. You have people that are obviously you have your camera out all the time, but they're trees out there. You don't talk. They don't talk to you. They have no interaction.
Right.
And if you don't know where they're focusing in on, and you don't even know where they're zooming in on. So they could be zooming in. You have no idea.
Yeah.
You got to remember the other thing is that a lot of people don't realize when you're out there, you're very paranoid about people in your tribe finding you or seeing you doing something. So the last person you're paying attention to is the cameraman. You're looking you're looking for an idol, and you're also making sure nobody's watching you.
Yeah.
So you're not even paying attention to the camera. So when they say, "Oh, the camera pointed," it's not even close. Like you don't even understand where the camera's at.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
It's more of you find it and they're on you because they're filming everything.
Right.
There's never a moment out there that you're not on film.
I gotcha. Yeah, because I've always thought that that's interesting, and if that would play into kind of how the game is played, just like with the way, with the way, not the way that you're interacting with them face to face or like verbally.
Not for me.
But just
Not for me. I didn't have that experience. I just I was more focused on not getting caught by anybody doing stuff and looking for what I was looking for.
Yeah. And this is going to be a tough question to answer, and I don't know if this is the right way to ask it, but making it as the runner-up, is there anything like that you could, in your mind, maybe like, shit, if I had done this a little bit differently, maybe that kind of changes the trajectory of the outcome of that game? Or is it more just like, I got myself to the final two, which is what only less than 100 people can say in the
Absolutely.
world. Like what's that like?
I think there's not a person that has been on Survivor that has not questioned every single move that they made, what they could have made, and how it would have turned out. We all play better the next day.
Yeah, right.
So I can't sit here and say, because I can give you 1,000 things I could have done differently, and how just one. The funny thing and the great thing about Survivor is one little insignificant happening changes the total trajectory of the game anyway.
Yeah.
So
Even other people's stuff.
right, everybody.
Yeah, right.
And your relationships with them.
Yeah.
So it's for me to pick one thing that I could have done different, but that might have been a domino effect on something else that would have got me out sooner.
Right, of course.
So I try never to do that. The only thing that I can say, I should have been more aggressive in the final tribal, stated my case, what I did. I didn't. Marianne did it a little bit better. And that's about it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's why they make second chance seasons for, so I come back and
That's right.
rectify that.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about post-Survivor life, because obviously, like now,
It's great.
Okay, why is it great? Talk to me about that.
You know, first of all, I get to come back to Hoboken.
Yeah.
I get to see all my friends, and there's a whole new world out there of Survivor fans that know who Mike is. And here's the other great thing is, my Instagram is Hoboken Mike, so all these fans know me as Hoboken Mike. So being so proud to be from Hoboken and it being my hometown, now to be called Hoboken Mike, anywhere I go, it's an amazing thing for me. It also has helped me with one of my passions, and it's given me a great platform to help people in need out. I mean, I'm very big. I love helping out the homeless shelter, the food pantry in Hoboken. Me and Jonathan just went on a mission trip to Nicaragua to build houses for kids. So all these things would not be possible or being able to have me have a platform without being on Survivor.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great things. Like people want to talk to me, people want to take my autograph, people want to take pictures, and those are all fun. Believe me, they're fun. But the greatest thing that it's done for me, it's the notoriety has been able to me to go to a place and say, "Hey, I'm going to be here, and if you come and you donate, these people are going to eat," and I watch them eat.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah. Was that always something that was something part of your like what you wanted to do with the world, or was that something like, hey, now I have this platform, like I've always wanted to do this, but I never had a chance to?
100%, because quite frankly, I know what it is to be hungry, and I know what it is to see people hungry, and sometimes in theory, it's like, yeah, I want to go out and help feed the hungry, and in saying it, it's much different than actually doing it, because sometimes you can't figure out how to do it, even though people say, oh, it's so simple, but it's not as easy as it sounds. With this, it was able to me just to open my mouth and have 10 people message me, hey, Mike, we'd love you to come help us do this, and I go, friggin' right, I'm right there, I'm there.
Yeah.
So
it's
made it easier for me to do what I like to do.
Right. And then also, because you had mentioned like you can go back on the show type of thing.
I hope so.
Yeah. Is that something that you have to like lobby for yourself, or is there like one day you'll get the call like, hey, we're doing another, top player, whatever, and we need you back?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure exactly how it happens.
Right.
I'm not sure if people lobby for it. I will not do that. I'm not going to lobby. I'm hoping that the public likes me enough and it's out there enough, and the producers and production and Jeff likes me enough that they think I warrant to come back out and to be on a second season, whatever it may be. And obviously I'll go in a second. I feel like I have unfinished business out there. I want to win.
Yeah. We want you to win, because has there been a winner from New Jersey?
There has been, yes.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Michelle Fitzgerald won. She actually lives in Hoboken. She won.
Oh, so this is like a breeding ground for...
Jersey is a breeding ground for everything.
Yeah, that's what we were saying before.
We have so many famous actors, Survivor players.
Yeah.
Tony from Jersey City won 2 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
So, we have, listen, it's this eastern part of the United States, this Hudson County area.
Yeah, we got some people here.
We got some characters, which turned out to be. Listen, you know what the thing is? We grew up our whole lives looking around, always being streetwise in Jersey. Always there.
Yeah. I don't know about that guy.
Yeah, look at everybody with a little sly eye, so we're always very careful.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything else that, like, maybe not even just having the platform, but just like now that you're, I guess, quasi-retired, you had done the show, and have all these things kind of now, and you're back in Hoboken. Are there anything else that you're just kind of like, hey, this would be really cool to do this now? So I feel like you're just like, you're not a guy that's just going to sit on his ass and just
I have a business too that obviously it takes a lot of work, and I have a business that I have a window gutter power washing business that I do a lot of work, so I'm always busy with that.
Yeah.
I have my kids that never ever, there's never a dull moment when you have kids.
Right.
But just in life, I'm just letting it, let it come to me. My wife says, I have to learn to say no, but I do a lot of things, and when I think people need help to help raise money for something, I try and do it.
Yeah, awesome.
I do a lot for Hearts of Reality.
Yeah.
It's for cancer kids in Florida. I love that. That's another passion that I like to help out with. But it's a great avenue.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. I feel fortunate that I just sent you a message on Instagram and you were just like, yeah, come on, let's
Dude,
do it.
you got me in New Jersey.
Yeah.
As soon as you said New Jersey, I said, I'm in, man.
Yeah, good for go. So if people do want to, as we wrap this up, if people do want to learn more about you, like all that kind of stuff, like what are some, we mentioned the Instagram before, which is at Hoboken Mike.
I had Hoboken Mike.
Is that Mike T?
Hoboken Mike T.
Hoboken Mike T. Is there any other place that people should go?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Same thing. Hoboken Mike T.
Yeah.
You always see what's going on. I'm always on some kind of adventure. Me and Jonathan from the show have become good friends. He does a lot of stupid things to me, makes me do stupid things, and I wind up getting hurt.
Yeah, that's great.
So we have a lot of fun.
All right, so we're going to put all the, like a little change up there, but we're going to put all the links, the Instagram handle, all that kind of stuff in the show notes so that people can go look at it. And I know I said this before, but I don't think we got it on mic, but you asked me before all my coolest episodes that I've done so far, and I got to say, Hoboken Mike T might be in that conversation as the coolest episode that we've done so far.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I believe it, but I'll take it. I strive to be the best all the time.
100%, and that's why I loved having you on this show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by the experience, and honestly, I get to do a show in New Jersey, about Hoboken, about Survivor, in my living room.
Yeah.
I made it.
Yeah, you made
it.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. This has been Hoboken Mike T, Mike Turner.
Sir.
We were here in Hoboken, New Jersey, in his apartment. Great view, all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Mike. I'm very humbled and appreciate it.
Absolutely. And everybody else, we will catch you next time.
Stuck here all